Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture. He's Adam Nicholas from WhatCulture, and we are here with your afternoon news.
Hashtag good afternoon.
Coming up, everything you can expect from NXT's first show on the USA Network next week.
Plans for the headline matches for day 1 and day 2 of Wrestle Kingdom next year have potentially been revealed.
But first, we have some potentially massive news centering around Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. I say the word potentially.
So much potential in one news story.
Because, you know, normally sometimes on the news we have a pinch of WrestleVotes. This is an absolute shovelful, but it's not even WrestleVotes this time. It is a Reddit user named King of Georgia 95. We are basing this on. He claims to have worked for Impact Wrestling for, quote, a few years before leaving in 2016. But I am going to caveat this story even further.
He's a king.
Because he reported last year that Impact, quote, wants nothing to do with Michael Elgin, who of course debuted this year. So it may or may not be true, this, but
bearing all of that in mind.
Assuming that there is an element of truth to this, he is reporting that Impact Wrestling's parent company, Anthem, who of course bought Access TV, is now in talks to purchase Ring of Honor. And they expect, if it goes through, Anthem to fold ROH completely and absorb its entire library into the Impact Plus app. Thoughts?
I'm just thinking, you nearly said liarberry there.
Yes.
What a weird berry that would be. Well, of course, the problem is, if you assume, you know what happens when you assume.
What's that?
Apparently it makes an ass out of just you.
Enough,
not me this time. But this is interesting because is this essentially like if it's the two teams who were so long playing against WWE, essentially, are now like, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. Why don't we just get together and see what we can do?
Yeah, I mean, once again, we don't know how true or not this is, but a few other wrestling websites are reporting this as truth, or at least as a decent rumour to be substantiated by this user. The thing I find more interesting than the possibility of Impact buying Ring of Honor, because, you know, with the recent acquisitions they've done, you could arguably see something about that, is the claim that they would just completely fold ROH outright. I mean, we've seen a fair share of invasion storylines that haven't really gone to plan, or, you know, wars between warring factions that are actually owned by the same person. But wouldn't some sort of, as Michael Sidgwick, who reported this story for us at WhatCulture.com, has claimed here, wouldn't it make so much more sense to do some sort of inter-promotional war rather than just going, right, we like you, and you from Ring of Honor, and then everyone else can just sort of sod off?
I'm not so sure, you know. I'm not so sure. I feel like that's too obvious of a thing to do. I like the idea, don't get us wrong, but I like the idea of an invasion. I like the idea of all of WCW's top stars coming to face all of WWE's, and that didn't happen. It was like all of WCW's stars, along with a couple in fairness, but not, you know, your Ric Flairs, Goldbergs, Stings, they were all not there, they all went elsewhere. In terms of this, I think maybe this is the best move, because if they're so desperate to kind of just hit the ground running and keep the momentum and not have to, there's a lot can go wrong with that storyline. And to be fair, I'm sure people would love it, the idea of it, but ultimately, you know how that story's ending, don't you? I mean, I know that didn't necessarily make a huge deal back in the day, but the fact I've already seen one, and now the fact that we're like
different versions
of that. They're going to put themselves over in the end. And imagine the plot twist, Ring of Honor wins. Like, what? It's not going to happen.
I think the thing is, to take it away from sort of kayfabe, let's be perfectly honest here. As much as Impact seems to be in an exciting time in terms of with Access TV now, of course, as we reported earlier on this week, you have got this kind of upper tier, which is WWE, AEW now with all the spending money that it's got behind it, and New Japan just purely in terms of quality even, but that's kind of not a Western promotion. And it's fair to say that the likes of Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling, whilst not indie promotions by any stretch of the imagination, are kind of the next tier down, and it would arguably make sense to combine, you know, their resources. To
go and match the guys who are out there, like you've just said, absolutely, because they must be tired. If they've been in the queue for a long time, they were considered to be the alternative, weren't they? The Western alternative to sort of WWE. And now the queue is literally being jumped by a brand new company that started off.
Which Ring of Honor helped develop.
That's the thing, man. It's so, it's cutthroat. And you know what, it's funny because nobody yet that I'm aware of has made big mention of this. The fact that literally AEW's whole basis is they took the best guys who were in Ring of Honor and stole a couple from New Japan, I guess, technically, and made this company. If Vince McMahon had did that, they would have been absolutely crucifying him for that. So, like, it's interesting. But to get back to the topic at hand, I really do think bringing their powers together is probably the best way for both companies to survive. Yes, some people will fall by the wayside, but you'd like to think that the best talents from Ring of Honor will migrate across and then, to be fair, collaborate with the guys at Impact, and we've been doing pretty good.
As we said, though, this is just a complete rumour as of right now, just based on this Reddit user, King of Georgia 95. But we'll keep you posted on any other updates as and when we hear it.
Absolutely. Well, less of a rumour, although I guess it depends where you stand with Dave Meltzer. We'll see. But potentially we know the idea, or certainly the structure, on the lead towards Wrestle Kingdom, and it's going to be a 2-day event this year, because that makes sense, Vince. If the show is going to be so long, put it on for 2 days. And imagine if this comes off, by the way, if they pull this off, obviously it's been 1 day of the year, usually in January, at the start of the year. It's always good, but it's now got to the point where it's so big, they need to put 2 days on to accommodate everything. Well, how do you do that? You put 2 great matches on to headline those shows. Well, according to Dave Meltzer, we've got a bit of an idea of how that is going to look. He seems to think that on day 1, the headline is going to be Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And then the winner of that match will go on to day 2 to face whoever the IC champion is in the main event of that pay-per-view. Now, I should say, he doesn't specify here, but I would imagine that means that the IC champion, maybe it's still Naito at the time, he will be facing someone on day 1 as well for the belt, or whoever is the champion, and I guess whoever wins that match will. So it's not just like the IC champ gets to sit and wait around while the IWGP... You two go mad tomorrow. You two go mad tomorrow. You two go mad today, and I'll see you both, whoever it is, tomorrow. But I've got the quote here from him. This is exactly what Dave says. He says, it appears the Tokyo Dome direction is Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi for the IWGP title at the Tokyo Dome show, and the winner then goes on to face the IC champ. The idea here is that the first person in company history to hold both titles at the same time will be crowned. This has not been announced, but both Ibushi and Tetsuya Naito have been talking about holding both belts at the same time, with Ibushi talking about winning the IWGP belt the first night and IC title the second night, with the idea of creating history. Now, I would call myself more of a New Japan casual. I certainly keep in touch with what's going on. We watch as much of it as we possibly have time to in between WWE, but every pay-per-view we watch is always usually one of the big ones, and it always delivers. This sounds incredible.
Yeah, it does sound like it could be a phenomenal show, and we were talking a lot around the G1 Climax about the future with the IWGP Heavyweight title, the future of Okada and what have you. And personally, from what I've gleaned from listening to you, like the likes of yourself and certainly the Dadley boys who are far more knowledgeable on this subject, if you could get, as much as I'd love to see Ibushi win that title, if you could get Okada to win on the first night and you got the Okada-Naito match again with all the history that goes with that.
There's so much history there. And I just think, listen, if anybody who knows the Naito history, then you'll understand. Anybody who doesn't, Naito's history going back to the fact that he was literally meant to be having that match for the belt at Wrestle Kingdom, and they basically voted him out of the main event, and he ended up leaving and going to Mexico. For have him come back, if they do one of those champions where they give both belts on the second night, that is a great way to, what a story that is, from Naito to go all the way from literally leaving the promotion to coming back as the hottest thing in the company and winning both belts would be amazing. But that's also a case for a bunch of other guys. Could it be Okada? Could it be Ibushi? Could it be Jay White? If Jay White ends up beating Naito for the IC title and then goes on to the... Who knows? All I do know is it's going to be an absolutely ridiculous 2 days of wrestling, so stay tuned for that.
Not a bad way to start.
Not at all.
2020, is it? And let's talk about something that's very exciting, and it's happening next Wednesday. Wednesday.
You've been taking lessons of Josh Brown on the days of the week, you.
Wednesday, the 18th of September, of course, the first NXT show on the USA Network, and we now have 4 matches confirmed. 1 extra match has been added to the show, and arguably, this looks like a bit of a takeover card, really. If this is their first week, imagine what they're going to do the first week they go head-to-head with AEW, which is 2 weeks on Wednesday, by the way. Now, of course, this show and the show on the 25th of September, 1 hour will be on the USA Network, 1 hour will be on the network because of USA Network's commitments to airing the final few episodes of this season of Suits. But just to run through these 4 matches for you. Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane in a Full Sail street fight. Mia Yim versus Io Shirai versus Bianca Belair versus Candice LeRae in a fatal 4-way #1 contenders match. We also already knew about Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong for the NXT North American title. And now confirmed, Undisputed Era versus Street Profits for the NXT Tag Team titles.
Oh my goodness me, that is a if you're going to start off like that. I mean, that is a statement, and I honestly cannot tell you how much I hope that they started with Roderick. I love the Velveteen Dream, I do. But I want to see Roderick Strong win that North American title. I want to see the Undisputed with all the belts, and I want that to be the standard bearer. Like, look, if you're a brand new viewer, here's your 4 guys. This is all the belts. Who's taking them off them? Absolutely nobody. And have that be your narrative. What a great way. I mean, some of those matches as well. Matt Riddle, Killian Dane, they've been going on for quite a couple of weeks.
Have they just consistently been brawling since the last year?
I think they've just never stopped brawling. None of them have been to bed. It's like when Peter and the chicken fight on Family Guy and they just go through all those different iterations. I think they're going to keep going forever. But in fairness, the Fatal 4-Way women's match is going to be excellent. It'd be nice to see a couple of those guys get a shot. And Bianca Belair back in the conversation. Mia Yim get a chance to redeem herself after... Well, you know, you've got to be nice to these people. I mean, I have to say I'm not a huge Mia Yim fan, but I wouldn't like to see her completely go by the wayside. Yeah, no. Bianca Belair and just chuck her out somewhere.
and
obviously, the tag titles as well.
It's great, isn't it?
It's really great. And what's going to be fascinating, it took us a while. I actually stopped a couple of weeks watching NXT because I think in my brain I was worried. I kind of desponded a little bit because of the whole Triple H movement and saying like, Triple H talking about the movement onto the live TV show and how much Vince was going to be involved. So I think subconsciously I'd sort of taught myself out of watching it, but I went back and caught up with it, and it is still fantastic, obviously, but I'm now a little bit excited because we've been assured, I realise that doesn't mean much, we've been assured Vince's inclusion is going to be as minimal as possible. Triple H says, if you like NXT, it's just going to be that, but bigger. I don't know what that format's like live, but I can only imagine it's going to be wonderful.
I mean, I cannot wait. You know, as much as the Wednesday Night Wars are going to be fascinating, and I'm really excited to see what AEW does on TV, to finally have NXT being given live TV exposure 2 hours a week is brilliant news for someone like myself, especially who was such a main roster dedicated fan who paid barely any attention to NXT, to have suddenly discovered it through the working here and chatting to the likes of yourself. I'm now suddenly like, well, the amount of people that are going to go through what I went through watching stuff like this.
So it's interesting as well because of the fact that, because it is now live, I want to know, I'm very curious to see how many people actually watch this, because realistically, a lot of people didn't, because there's the chunk of the tapings and you can just read what happened at the tapings. And that's understandable. The time is quite difficult. It's hard enough to squeeze all the wrestling into the day, and with AEW starting. So be interested to see how many people actually come up and turn up to watch this on a Wednesday, and then we will have officially, properly, an actual Wednesday Night War. My word.
Let us know your thoughts on that, on the news about New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom, and of course on the rumours surrounding Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts too. You can send us Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE, where you can also follow both of us. You can follow him at
It's Adam Nicholas, and you can follow him at
Adam Wilbourn. You can follow us all, as I said, at WhatCultureWWE. Thank you very much for watching. Well, thanks to Adam Nicholas as well. We'll see you soon.